Welcome, my friends. This is Sananda. You may have heard of me by another name, Jesus. I will respond to either name for you. My dear ones, another peaceful evening, another opportunity for us to gather together, to share what we are with one another, and to expand upon that which we are, and to release a little bit more that which we are not, that which we perhaps once believed we were. So please be relaxed. I hope you are not all too serious this evening. I can be serious, but I prefer not to be. I prefer to share this joy and love and this childlike experience. So tonight perhaps we could be as children and share the same sandbox, cooperating to co-create a little bit of heaven, a little heavenly community for a little while perhaps. It is a wondrous experience, you see. From our perspective, we see you sitting here in your physical bodies. We also are experiencing your higher selves that are with you. Your spiritual guides are with you. Your etheric bodies and your emotional bodies and your mental bodies. Each of you bring a great deal of baggage to these affairs. Some of the baggage is quite delightful to behold. Some of it we would perhaps hope that you would have left it at home in the closet. Nevertheless, we take you as you are, with love and with blessings, hoping that you will follow our example and accept yourselves unconditionally also, despite the fact that your baggage is sometimes trailing behind you. Sometimes there are strange bits of clothing and other things hanging out from the bags, dragging along in the dirt. This is what it is like being in a third-dimensional body form. We understand this. So we honor you for being here this evening, and we are grateful for your courage in going beyond yourselves a little bit into another realm of opportunity, another realm of possibilities. And truly this is an opportunity for you to grow and to expand. So open your hearts, and tonight I would like to speak with you about relationship. Have I got your interest now? Unfortunately for you, I am not going to speak about your worldly relationships. They are dangling from out of your baggage, even as we speak. But there is another relationship that you are all working on that is of vital importance to you. And from my perspective, I would say it is the most important relationship. It is that divine romance that you have with your own God self, your higher self, your Christ self, however you wish to label it. It is the divine romance that you are engaged in at this time, which will lead up to the marriage of you and your higher self in the ascension process. The completion of that merger will be quite beautiful to experience. You are experiencing aspects of it now in your meditations, in your channeling experiences, in your walks in nature, however you feel the presence of your higher self. This is going to become your everything. It is going to become the critical relationship and focus of your existence. The more you recognize the importance of this relationship and of this merger that is taking place, the more you will feel and understand that all that you have sought throughout all of your lifetimes, all the grace and the love that you have been seeking in other ways, is here for you and available now, offering itself to you. You could say that the bridegroom is at the altar and the bride is beginning to make her way up the aisle. So what can we do to facilitate this relationship, to understand it and to enjoy it? You have all had, I am sure, experiences of other types of relationships in this life. There is much of a dysfunctional relationship going on here on the earth. You could say it's a hotbed of dysfunctional relationships. In fact, that which is called by your earth psychologist a healthy, normal relationship appears to us from our perspective as sheer lunacy. So, as you begin to connect with your own higher self, feel your higher relationship, you may feel something else falling away, and it is that relationship that you have been having with your limited self. You have all been engaged in what I will use the term dysfunctional, but don't take it too critically. You have all been engaged in a rather dysfunctional relationship between your inner self, your true self, and your ego self, or your limited self. And the limited ego self utilizes your mind to attempt to control you and manipulate you and get you to be the way it wants you to be and keep you in a comfort zone so that it does not have to face the light or face any uncomfortable situations. Is this not what it is like to be in a dysfunctional relationship? You have rules and regulations and agreements, do you not? I will not press any of your buttons if you will not press any of mine. Don't ask me to take my head out of the sand, and I will not ask you to do that either. But it is quite a bit different with your higher self. For your higher self, your divine relationship asks of you that you open yourself up to unconditional love, that you open yourself to receive more than you thought you were worthy of. You could say you are all engaged in a love triangle between your personality and your limited ego identities, and between your personality and your higher self, your God self. Your personality is being affected. Your personality is the middleman. or the middle woman. It is being influenced by both ends of the spectrum of experience. Both suitors trying to win your affection and win a commitment, a permanent commitment. At times this can be rather confusing to the personality. You will feel a beautiful experience of divine love radiating through in your meditation. Perhaps you will find a contact with one of your guides that is particularly beautiful. It will activate you towards this openness with your higher self. You will feel a commitment, a beautiful connection there, a beautiful love relationship emerging. And then perhaps a few hours or a few days later you will find your ego self trying to convince you that that's crazy and that you need it to exist and to be safe, that you had better stick with what you know, that you do not deserve more. All of the things that can be said to be limiting self-beliefs. It is this self that is to fade away, which puts up a little bit of resistance to the process. It does not entirely want to come into alignment. It does not want to be your friend. It wants to be your lover. But truly, for a human being who is fully human, there is only one lover. So you are at various stages in your experience, in your evolvement, having to deal with this relationship issue. Some of you are perhaps more naturally accepting and flowing with it. Others are perhaps more self-critical about your involvements, self-judgment, etc. Can tend to come in if you give yourself to your limited beliefs and merge with that experience for a while. Perhaps you will judge yourself as being unworthy. Many of these sorts of criticisms. It's another trick. It's another way that your lower self can manipulate you into not accepting who you truly are. But I tell you that your limited relationship days, your dysfunctional relationship days are at an end. There is going to be only that beautiful, clear connection with who you truly are. There is only going to be that divine romance, that wonderful, unlimited experience of love. You are going to all go out on a limb a little bit farther in your trust, in your faith, and in your ability to risk. You have to be a little bit bold, you see, to win the heart of your higher self. If you remain meek and mild, you will not generate the courage to take that leap. And your limited self will always be there waiting to tell you that you definitely could not make it. It is too much. It is beyond you. And as you look around yourselves in the world, you see yourself surrounded by those beings who are experiencing the limited love affair of their ego selves, and you do not necessarily receive very much positive reinforcement that it is possible to become an ascended being in this lifetime, to experience complete realization and total merging with the source of love. There are going to be more examples of this on the planet. It is my hope many of you will decide to be those examples. Some of you are deciding and proceeding quite beautifully. So what does it feel like to be connected with this higher self, to have that beautiful love relationship. There is a feeling of peace and harmony, a feeling of acceptance. You go beyond criticism and self-judgment. You allow your ego self to exist, to fulfill its role. You allow it to be a friend. But you are no longer controlled by its opinions and judgments. For you know that the source of your happiness and the source of your satisfaction, your abundance and prosperity, the source of love, is not anything that is limited. It is existing within you. It has never left you. It will never leave you. It is a deep, trusting affair of love. And it is a journey. When you get involved with a limited side of yourself or with the limited side of other beings in relationship, perhaps it is fascinating for a short time, but you always come to the end of that fascination and you need to move on. You need more. You need more stimulation, more excitement. You need more growth, more of everything. There is one source that can give you that. And it is within you. It is your divine over-self, your Christ self. That which has been called the I Am presence. And it wants you to come out and play. So next time you meet your limited self, next time you come face to face with that part of you that tells you you are less, that tells you you are not deserving, that tells you that this is all there is and you'd better knuckle down and get it together here, all of its fear tactics, it will use fear to attempt to control you. Next time you see this occurring, all you need to say is, I want a divorce. Have you ever noticed in human relationships how effective that line can be? You know, you get involved with someone and perhaps you are married for a time. There is a great tendency for one to take another for granted, to consider that they will always be there, that they may be less than perfectly loving for them, that they may use them to dump their negativities upon, all sorts of strange behaviors that you have experienced, I'm sure. But even in the midst of one of these conversations, if one of the partners is courageous enough to say this line, I want a divorce, the other one will instantaneously stop in his tracks and say, oh. So you can use this tactic with your limited relationship also. Because you are all going to get a divorce. Because you are all going to be married to that higher self. And it will be not a divorce in anger, but one in respect and honesty. The self that is falling away is to be honored, and the self that is emerging is to be loved and nurtured. This is what we are here to accomplish, all of these gatherings that we have. Sharing with you the beautiful essence of our presence, knowing that when we share with you, that which comes through must come through your own higher self in order for you to experience it. And by getting you to focus your attention in this internal way, within your own breathing, within your own consciousness, you begin looking in that direction, and it becomes more and more apparent to you that regardless if you are sitting in a channeling or not, if you look in this direction, you will find that source. This is our goal. A planet full of Christs. No more need for teachers. No more need for gurus. Sovereign Christ beings. And won't that be a spectacle? There will hardly be room in the sandbox to accommodate all the fun and games. We will have to create an addition. Mm-hmm. So what we are speaking of is simplicity itself. It is focusing within yourselves in meditation, connecting with your own breath, turning your back on that one that is telling you you are less, ignoring it, ignoring that relationship, or at least severing the bonds of attachment to that, and attaching yourself to the true source, the one that is infinite. And this is what you are here to accomplish. This is why the energy of this time is so profoundly blasting through, you could say. It is very important for each one to come into this relationship within themselves. It will no longer do to have a few people telling a great number of people what is truth. This is no longer acceptable. It is not fully functional behavior. All teachings have their place, of course, but ultimately you are destined to find that teacher that is your higher self. And through your higher self, all of us of the higher dimensions can contact you personally and share with you and play with you, be your friends and companions, not gods and goddesses for you to worship, but friends and companions. As you take your places, your rightful places in the hierarchy of beings, of universal masters. So the first thing that a universal master has to accomplish is they have to get a divorce from their lower natures. They have to experience a self-mastery. And the way that you can do this is not simply by focusing upon the part of you that is less and saying, oh, that's not me, that's limited, this is this. This is not what I am speaking of. This is not going to take you, not going to make that leap. What you need to do is to give yourself to your higher self and let the chips fall where they may, as the expression goes. And continue to give yourself to your higher self with simplicity and trust, and allow Spirit to sort out the rest. Very simple. It is as simple as breathing. You know, if you were not so likely to be bored, we would come through and speak about breathing every night. Every class. Is everyone breathing? And every 30 seconds perhaps remind you. This is your destination and how you will arrive at it. But we give you our little discourses to keep you occupied and to play while we are all breathing in that divine essence of love. The transformation is magical. You need not look at this as work. spiritual work, there is no such thing. Spiritual play, yes. Focus, concentration, yes. It is the limited self that views it as work. I think some of you are losing your baggage. Never mind. Let the airlines handle it. They can mess things up just as well as you can. Be willing to release your attachments. Be willing to spend time each day simply giving yourself to your higher self in meditation, calling upon your teachers and guides to assist you, calling forth the presence of your higher self, asking to connect with your light bodies. This is like something that perhaps your mind would tell you is very irresponsible. Your mind will tell you that you need to be out there rounding up your lost baggage. You don't have time to sit and do nothing. Let's get on with it. We've got to collect this baggage and sort it all out and perfect ourselves. We've got to get dressed and to be presentable to the world. We've got to be good little New Age, divine love entities. Nonsense. You are already that. Your mind is only trying to distract you from the fact of what you are by telling that you need to create that. You are already that. You already have been that, always have been that. It is simply a matter of accepting that fact within yourself, and the part of you that will show you this, the part of you that will prove it to you, is that higher self that will come through in your meditations and channelings, etc. Your mind will never convince you that you are there. Your mind and your ego will always tell you you have a lot more work to do, buddy. You'd better get it together. The New Age is manifesting, and look at you, you're a mess. More nonsense. So try to have some discrimination in your lives when you hear these types of comments, when you feel this type of energy coming from that lower self, from that critical self. Don't believe it. Call forth the magnificent presence of your higher self and simply radiate that which you are. When you arrive in the ascended state, you are going to have, each of you, a new set of luggage, perfectly packed, containing only that which you require to function as ascended masters. How many times have you gone on a trip and taken way too much luggage? And then you get to your hotel room, and perhaps you're in Hawaii and it is 85 degrees out, and you wonder why you brought that wool jacket. Well, you thought you might need it. Part of you said, you better bring this, you don't know what's going to happen. So your mind is telling you with its fears, you better be prepared. You better bring along all of this stuff and make sure it's clean, make sure it's nicely folded and presentable. We must present ourselves to God for inspection. And God has no desire to inspect you, I assure you. He has created you, He knows you within your atoms, and He does not care what you think. He knows what you think, but He does not care what you think. He cares that you are in the presence of love. And that higher self, that I am presence, which is within you, which is your divine romantic attachment is none other than a spark of the Creator Himself, connected to the very source of all, and by following this wonderful cord of love, you engage yourself in a great adventure of exploration and evolution that takes you through many, many experiences and many higher dimensions. So I ask you, what are you waiting for? You can choose to identify with your limited love attachment or with your unlimited love attachment. You can choose to believe that which is limited or to believe that you are unlimited. And your mind will create that which you believe, and it will facilitate your evolution in the direction of your belief. So you may be meditating constantly, but if you are still telling yourself that you'd better get it together and you are not there yet and all of this sort of thinking, it is not beneficial. If you are making a sincere effort to meditate and give yourself to your higher self, perhaps not always achieving clear connection or clear, consistent guidance, but doing your best, and yet believing that you are that higher self, that you are that master unfolding, it is much easier to lift you into those higher realms. Your baggage, you see, is not so firmly in your grip. So love yourselves and give yourselves to that beautiful relationship that exists within you. All the romance you could ask for is there. All the nurturance, safety, security, excitement, everything that you have been looking for externally is within you. In fact, there is much within you that you have no idea exists. So we will lure you in with promises of love, and once you are in there, you will understand what it feels like from our perspective, and why we are so busily working to bring you all into the higher dimensions. So does anyone have questions for me this evening? I open the floor for your questions and comments.
One question. I noticed that at our gatherings that there aren't too many males. And I'm wondering if when the starseeds came upon Earth, if it was pretty much half and half and the males now are asleep, or was there just a portion of the females to males?
Here I go back into the cosmic library, looking up the census for some eons ago. I would say at the initial descent of the starseeds, it was pretty much half and half. The fact that there are more females awakened or awakening is simply the situation at present. There will be more males in the future. You know, the male ego is a little bit tougher than the female, a little bit harder to crack. The female of the species, I may get in trouble here, tends to be a little more receptive and open, a little bit more sensitive. So the energies of this wondrous new age that are manifesting are opening, affecting, and those who are most sensitive are awakening to them. It will all balance out. Hopefully sooner than later.
I have a question. I just started reading a new book, new to me, and it talks about the star people and the star seed helpers. I'm not sure I used the right terminology there. Do you have any comments to make on this?
What is your question? You are wondering what these star seeds are?
The difference between the star seeds and the star seed helpers. Are you familiar with the helpers that are apparently not true star seeds, but they are there assisting?
From the human sphere of activity?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I have never looked at it with that terminology, but yes, there are beings who are not of the same source, not star seeds per se, but who are open to spirituality and giving themselves to spiritual growth. And perhaps you could say they are the star seed helpers. They are helping us, so they are also the ascended master helpers.
Will they be ascending also, the star seed helpers?
It is our hope. It is our hope that many, many multitudes will ascend. Much more than the star seed population of the earth. If it were just a matter of returning to pick up the star seeds, it would be perhaps a limited success in this experiment. We are hoping to have a great success. We are hoping that many of human origin will. Come along for the ride. The planet is ascending underneath them, so they are being shaken and awakened just as everyone else.
Are there certain characteristics to star seeds? Say, rare blood types and an extra vertebrae or an extra rib or certain physical or chemical characteristics that are not the usual?
Such as gills. Star seeds are much more sensitive generally than ordinary human stock. All star seeds have come from various places, so there are perhaps characteristics that are unique. I doubt whether this manifests as extra ribs. Yes, star seeds tend to be more sensitive. More allergies per square human. More cases of candida, more strange aches and pains. It is because third-dimensional reality is not an altogether suitable environment for divine beings to exist upon. It was one thing when you were fully immersed in third-dimensional reality. Those of you who have had many lifetimes here, you have had lifetimes where you were perhaps undistinguishable from the mass of humanity. But now that this activation is taking place and your divinity is coming to the forefront, also your sensitivities and your feelings of, how shall I put this? a dissatisfaction with that which is there for you of the third dimensional reality. It is not altogether acceptable any longer to exist as three-dimensional limited beings. Once you begin your awakening process, it is better to awaken fully and to have access to that higher self and that higher dimensionality of yourself. This will cure you of the earth blues. Thank you.
I have a comment. The starseeds who are appearing now as females may not have always been females in the process of reincarnation. Many of us may have been males at the beginning even, which would kind of account for the distribution of males and females.
There you have it.
Because I don't feel that I've always been a female.
And what of those beings who are androgynous? They too can have a divine romance with their higher selves, with their God selves.
Do our God selves or higher selves have names? Like, could you tell me like where I was from originally, and where, if, like, if I had a name there, it would help me kind of, like identify it. Kind of,
Yes, I could, but I will not.
How am I supposed to find out myself?
Yes, you have a cosmic name. Everyone here has cosmic names, perhaps more than one, generally speaking, more than one. You have all been around the universe. Just as they called me Jesus when I was walking upon the earth, now the Ashtar command calls me Sananda. I have had other names also. And so it does behoove you to connect with your higher self and to find what is your cosmic name. You can get a message directly from your higher self or from your guides concerning this. This is part of your path. In fact, when you identify with yourself, identify yourself as this cosmic name rather than as your earth name, it begins to unleash a little bit more remembrance. You're in the process of remembering who you are. As you remember your true power and divinity, it becomes easier and easier for you to release your limited beliefs about yourselves. It becomes easier to release attachment to this limited third-dimensional embodiment. And then you have the strong desire to get on with it and to have all the veils fall. But it is a path of self-discovery. This is why we are always encouraging you to go within, to seek your answers within. If you call upon me in your meditations, I will assist you in doing so. But I will not rob you of the wonder and enjoyment of discovering and receiving the message of your cosmic name. That would be cheating you out of one of your most beautiful earth experiences.
Thank you. I knew that you were going to say it.
Well, you tried, didn't you?
Yeah.
You never know. You might find a channel who is very imaginative, who could come up with a name for you. But if you are talking to me, I think I will speak to you internally. Only, exclusively. Your cosmic name will feel good to you. How's that for a hint?
Oh, thank you.
It will feel familiar to you. It's a good exercise. It's like a little carrot at the end of a stick for you. There is a string of dangling carrots between you and the very throne of the Creator. You may refer to it as inspiration. I like to call them carrots. Any more questions this evening?
Weren't each of us probably in different reincarnations both male and female at different times, hopefully.
Yes. Not at the same time very often. Yes, it was part of your earth training to experience at least a certain number of incarnations of the opposite sex as your usual makeup. It was part of your learning and your training to understand human experience fully, so that at the time of your activation you would have a deep understanding of humanity, a deep compassion, and an ability to assist. This is one reason why I myself chose to manifest in the physical form. One of my tests, one of my tasks on the way to sovereignty of this universe. It only took me one lifetime.
Oh, I have another question. There was an article in an Omni magazine that said that Jesus was really a woman. And it gave all this scientific proof. I thought, and it had this picture of some famous painters, and it really had, an androgynous look to it. It was kind of interesting. Do you have any, is it true?
As soon as I stop laughing, I will answer you.
I thought it was pretty interesting. I like that.
Well, that's a new one on me. I haven't heard that one yet. I thought I had heard them all. Well, I will say concerning this that in my earth incarnation I was rather more androgynous than either heavily male or female, but I was definitely of the male gender. My essence, my expression was more androgynous, but my physicality was male. Now that I have defended my manhood, the rest of my personal information is classified. So let us, before we go into any more strange and bizarre questions, I am being facetious. I enjoy these discussions. You know, these questions and answers are the highlight of my channeling experience. Believe it or not. I love to hear you talk and to communicate with you in this way. It fills me with love and fills my heart with bliss. Also, I get a lot of good laughs. Always I am laughing with you, never at you. You are beloved beings, and you are all worthy of respect, honor and respect. In fact, I will guarantee you that I have more honor and respect for you than any of you have for yourselves. So let you try to match me in this regards. So let us just take a few minutes to meditate together before I say goodnight. We will simply breathe together this evening and focus yourselves on your connection with your own higher self. Call for the manifestation of your higher self. And breathe, and it will descend around you perhaps, give you a little tingle. So my peaceful ones, I thank you for this opportunity to speak with you, to share of myself. Please know that I am with you. I am your shadow of light, always following after you. Call upon me for assistance in your meditations. I will help to connect you with your divine Christ self. There is so much love, so much for you. Truly it is beyond our abilities to describe in language. All our words merely are signs pointing the way to that which exists within you. The discovery is yours to make, and the path has no end truly. I will see you again soon. Good night.
All right.
Good night.